2023. There are 4 members of our board present this evening. Bob is attending remotely, so our votes this evening will be taken via roll call. With us as well is Town Planner Joe Gianowitz, and that does it for town staff. As always, we start with open forum. I'll go to the board, or I guess I'll go to Joe first. Joe, any topics for open forum?
Just next Tuesday, tentatively scheduled now, is a joint hearing with the select board for planning board to talk about a potential zoning bylaw amendment pertaining to firearms businesses. So it'll be at about 7:10 p.m. with their regular meeting on Tuesday the 11th.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Bob, anything for open forum?
I have nothing.
Great. Mike or Darren?
Nope.
And I don't either. Anybody from the audience, any items for open forum? Please step up, state your name and address for the record.
This is Mike Life.
Yep.
I'm Paul Morse, Wagon Trail Road, Westford. Longtime resident, 45 years. And I'm here tonight, I'm making the rounds to the various elected boards regarding the my advocacy for updating the town's comprehensive master plan. And I come to that conclusion from thinking about looking at the climate action plan and knowing that we did a housing plan and knowing the school's doing a plan. So I see a lot of piece parts. And it's been some time, in fact 2009 as best I can tell, since we've done a update to the comprehensive master plan. So I started looking around to area towns, and Westford's lagging in that regard. Most towns have updated their comprehensive master plan within the last 4 or 5 years. I know it's a big undertaking, but it's a lot of things are changing in the world and in local community as well. And so I'm approaching you guys as having the word planning in your title. I said, I think I'll try you guys first. But I'm also, I want to talk to the select board as well as the town manager, because she's new, fresh ideas, new perspective. And she just went through this process in Shrewsbury in the last 5 years, both a master plan update as well as a vision statement or vision plan that was pushed by the select board. Looked like good things to do. And as I say, so when I looked around the towns in the area, Westford was not leading the pack. 2009 is pretty old. So I don't know what the steps are going forward, but I suggested in my memo that maybe ARPA funding could help kickstart a plan for the plan anyway. Groton has just this past year allocated $150K for a consultant to jumpstart their update. So, you know, if there's a will, there's a way. And if you guys see the same need as I do, you might start to push that maybe in conversation with town manager and with the select board. I think it's somewhat overdue. So that's kind of my perspective. So I thought I'd share it with you and see what you think.
Thanks. I saw your email when it came in, and I did, just so that you know, I did forward that, because I believe, Jeff was on it. I think what I did is I did a reply with just Jeff on it, and I sort of asked for his perspective, Jeff Morissette, the Director of Land Use Management. And he sort of said we're in the middle, Joe, of doing some pretty heavy lifting around the MBTA communities effort that's has come down from the state. And sort of Jeff's perspective was it probably makes sense for us to digest that work before we sort of then peel back from that and start to work on a whole new master plan. But I don't know if you have anything from the planning department's perspective on that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good synopsis. You know, over the next year, as we're trying to gear up for next year's town meeting, that we were just talking about before the meeting, talking about town meeting, for the potential bylaw that we could have to comply with the mandate regarding MBTA communities. You know, MBTA communities could affect multiple sections of the master plan, so it could almost kind of start to feed into a master plan update. But I think over the next year or so, we really need to focus on getting that new bylaw amendment right, and then maybe from there, could look at diving into a master plan update.
Yep. So I don't think anyone, you know, disagrees with the perspective. I think it's a question of we have a fairly sizable effort right now within the zoning bylaws to deal with this MBTA mandate from the state, as well as some topics that have come up, you know, recently regarding firearms businesses, which we're sort of, I think, working with town staff to digest now. But certainly, I think once those things are done, you know, turning our attention to the master plan.
So tell me, is it your group, or the planning board that would drive a comprehensive master plan, or is it the select board, or?
I think we would certainly be
I
heavily
think
involved.
they'd probably, you know, start a new committee, right? The way
Right.
I was on the master plan implementation committee 20 years ago, but
Yeah.
start a new committee with representatives from planning and select board. I would keep going. I'd keep pushing if I were you. I mean, we do get a lot of stuff going on, and you know, we probably can't jump into this right now. But I'd keep visiting the boards. I think it's a great idea, and get some momentum behind it.
Yeah, okay.
It takes a long time to get the wheels to turn, so.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I would say too, I mean, NIMCOG is a great resource for that, and they work with a lot of towns to Northern Middlesex County Governments, Council of Governments, so they do a lot of work with towns to upgrade their, master plans, through that, each town has a committee they put together
good
and they
point.
work on that. So, a couple of ways, you could look at ARPA funds, you could look at DLTA funds, each year we get those from the state as well, so those are things that could be used
Yeah.
to upgrade that.
I knew there was some time sensitivity to the ARPA funding. That's what sort of made me raise my head up and think about
Yep.
that, right? So,
So, yeah.
Okay.
When the time is right, certainly I think NIMCOG will be the resource to use to do that for us, help us with it anyway.
okay.
Thank you for your advocacy. Anybody else for open forum? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go to our public hearing item for this evening, which is PB 2308, definitive subdivision and stormwater management permit at 472 and 476 Groton Road. Continued from March 20th with no discussion. Good evening.
Good evening, members of the board. For the record, Attorney Melissa Robbins from the law firm of Farrell and Robbins. As you said, I'm here tonight for a continued public hearing. We opened the hearing at the beginning of March. We continued the last public hearing so that we could have a site walk and address some of engineering's first concerns. I actually gave my engineers the night off because we didn't have an engineering letter, but later today, about 4 o'clock, we did get an engineering letter, but it is quite clean. You could see that all the comments have been completely addressed. The only ones that say no further response are the ones that are deferred to the planning board for a waiver. So I think we actually have no open issues from the engineering department. I think this is my fastest one ever through engineering too. So I think that's a credit to my engineers, to Mr. Lees and Mr. Erickson being very responsive to everything the engineering staff wanted. Just a quick comment to the engineering review. The only thing they did cite is to the HOA maintaining a lot of these drainage areas, and there will be an HOA that does all of that. So I just wanted to make that very clear. We also were requested by the Conservation Commission that access easement actually means for public access lots, across lots 5 and 6, and it absolutely will be. So we'll make sure that's clearer, that public access through the trail system so that they can get to the existing trail system and to the back of the Greystone trail system will be put in place. We'll just clear up that tag so that it's clear. The assistant planner, Sierra, had a couple comments. The sheds on the back of lot 1, I think that they both say existing sheds to be raised, but at the site walk, Mr. Erickson had noted that the shed was to remain. The bigger shed, which is all the way in the back, that definitely is going to be demolished. But there's actually a smaller shed to the side of Lot 1. That shed will still be removed, but it's going to be relocated in a location that meets zoning requirements.
Okay.
The second one was as to boulders on the site. Yes, the boulders will remain on the site. We're going to reuse them as part of the development. And the third issue, and I think the only issue from the town staff comments that still need a little bit of work on our side, is to continue to revise the tree plan and maybe just give that a second look to see if we can save some of the trees now that we've done the survey work within the roadway. And before your next meeting, we're happy to meet with staff to satisfy their concerns for the trees and see how many we can keep. It only benefits us to see how many of the mature trees we can keep along the areas that we're not going to develop, so we're happy to do so. I think all other concerns have been addressed. I know the board has been out there as well, so we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you. Would like to go first, Darren?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. So, and I was unfortunately not able to make the site walk, but, yeah, I think the main things I saw, they addressed, engineering addressed all the comments and everything too, so the easement was another thing, was one thing that was standing out, but it looks like that's gonna be all set. And then, my only thought really is the drainage, but engineering seems to be fine with, kind of where that is right now, so I think I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Darren. Mike?
No, I don't have anything. It looks good to me. I think they've addressed everything that I had concerns. Wondering if you can move those boulders, maybe bring them to my house?
We'll take that under consideration.
Thank you.
Bob?
No, the one item I had, Attorney Robbins addressed, which was just a note after reading the engineering comments, that there are 3 references in there to the homeowners association. So we just need to make sure when we complete our work in the final ruling that we do recognize a homeowners association is required. And I guess the other thing I learned here today was all about the bats, which we apparently is an endangered species I was not aware of in that area. So, but it doesn't look like it applies that according to the findings I saw. So, yep, all is good. I'm glad to hear all of the concerns from engineering are addressed, which she also covered. So that's really the only concerns I had after reviewing the package. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, similarly, I mean, I did have a chance to look through the engineering comments that came back sort of, I think, midday today or maybe early afternoon today, and it did seem very clean, like everything was basically addressed. So I was also not able to make the site walk as it was midweek, but you know, I was looking at the landscape and the planting plan, and I mean, I think it's going to be tricky to save any of those trees that are specifically in the roadway. I mean, obviously the ones in the roadway can't be saved. Even at the end, that's really a stand mostly of pines, it looks like, right? The one, I guess I would say, thing I might suggest or offer is maybe another tree or 2 at the end of that. You know, if since we're taking down so much evergreens there, another tree or 2 at the very end of that roadway might be kind of nice, but, you know, short of that, I didn't really have much to offer. It looks like a good plan to me. Great. So I suppose at this point, suggesting that directing town staff for a draft decision for the next meeting probably makes sense.
Sure.
I agree.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we'll be happy to meet with the applicant to see if there is anything else with the landscape plan that we can try to address comments.
Great. Terrific.
So we've just asked that we be continued to May 1st, and we'll work with staff on the decision and the tree planting.
Great.
Terrific.
Is there a motion to continue PB, I lost it, 2308 to our May 1st meeting here, 7 p.m., meeting room 201, Town Hall?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second to continue. All those in favor say aye. Bob?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks. See you on the 1st.
Is that our next meeting?
Yes, the 17th is
School vacation.
flag.
Yeah.
I think it's
Oh, no, it's-
Patriots Day.
Yep.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, March 17th is Patriots Day.
April.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we don't have one on the 17th. Okay. So our next order of business is PB 2303, which is an item we already have heard and it had been moved on. It was a request for a minor modification to the special permit at the drive-through we approved at Chase Bank. And full disclosure, so town staff reached out to me with this and asked if I was comfortable just sending it for administrative review and approval. And, you know, generally something this minor, guys, I wouldn't put this on our agenda, but as I looked at it, I found myself thinking, I don't know if we have any other drive-through banks or anything with like a temporary awning, something that's not permanent. And I just thought it might make sense for us to take 5 minutes as a group here and talk about whether or not we feel like there's anything that does to change our thoughts around either safety or anything, you know, if that would change any conditions we might want to impose on the space, given that it's not really like a permanent structure that's going to have some wear and tear on it, and people do drive their vehicles near it, so eventually if it's not maintained, it could potentially present a bit of a hazard, at least to a vehicle. So I didn't know. I mean, I was not familiar with any of these in town, so I thought, why not we get the perspective of the board on this?
Mr. Chair, we do have someone representing the applicant on the phone as well,
Oh.
in case you do have any questions, or
Great.
any board member has any questions.
Great, thanks.
Great.
Yeah, so that was really it.
Yeah, when I saw it first as an agenda item, I was thinking, I couldn't recall if it was an awning over, like an overhang across the entire lane of traffic.
Yeah.
At which point I think it would have been more major.
Yeah.
But here, since it's pretty minor
Yeah.
against the wall, I don't think it's gonna be, my first concern too was it's a canopy and it's gonna attract wind.
Yep.
And blow off. I
Yeah.
don't think that's gonna happen here because it's pretty tight to the wall, but.
So is the canopy gonna be permanent, or until they can get this new one put in?
I think what they're proposing is to not do a permanent one, to use this instead, was my understanding. This wasn't like, hey, we're gonna do a temporary until we get the parts. I think they're advocating replace the permanent one with this one. And Darren, I agree, then I found myself thinking, this doesn't really afford a lot of like weather protection either to someone who's trying to lean out of their car and get, you know what I mean? Because it is so tight to the building that it doesn't actually afford a lot of overhang. So I just figured again we'd take a quick peek at it. And
I don't know if the applicant wants to address any of those questions.
who do we have from the applicant?
So it's Coral.
Yes, hi, this is Coral Silsby from Project Expeditors on behalf of JP Morgan Chase. Yeah, I agree with you. The photo that we provided is a bit misleading. The dimensions of the awning are exactly the same as what was originally proposed. So the projection off the building is 3 feet and would provide protection for the vehicles that are driving underneath that. The material is a material as opposed, it is a cloth material, and therefore would be subject more to conditions, weather conditions that may actually present problems in the future. And I agree with the board on those comments also. So our thoughts were, the issue is that we're having supply chain issues, as I know the board's aware of with many projects. And our thoughts were we would either accept this as a conditional approval so that we could open the ATM while we wait for the material on the awning that was originally proposed, or we obtain approval for this awning subject to the conditions that we understand that if there is damage to the awning, we're going to need to replace the material.
I think I'm happy with that, the latter. I mean,
Can
use this material, and if it gets hit by a truck or gets bent or something,
or even just deteriorates over time from weather, right? They have to repair it before it becomes some sort of a hazard or something.
So, two thoughts, right? So it's their brand, and if it's flapping in the wind,
Great.
not gonna want that.
Yep.
Second, if it's flapping in the wind and damages somebody's car, they're liable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, my thought would be, whichever they would prefer, either condition it that, within the next 6 months, they put the one up that they wanted to, but if they prefer to use this in the meantime, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Does your client have a preference of the two options you sort of listed there, is to either use this in place of a permanent one or use this as a temporary measure in order to open the window and then replace it? Does your client have a preference?
The client proposes this as a replacement for the initial proposed, due to the difficulty in obtaining the initial proposed material.
Yeah.
But I think the client would be satisfied with either option as long as they can open the window.
Got it. Bob, do you have any thoughts to offer on this?
I think you kind of covered most of it. My one thought here is, if we go ahead with this as the permanent solution, what would our condition be in the event the awning gets damaged, either through the elements or, let's say, a vehicle makes contact with it? Would that require the bank to shut down this drive-up until a replacement awning was available? So that's the one question I kind of have that could make a determination as to whether we want to have this be temporary or more permanent. And I don't have that answer. I'm looking to my fellow board members to talk through this question.
Yeah. Well, I think Mike made a good point in that, if it's damaged and could potentially damage somebody else's vehicle, to the extent the bank would be liable, they'd probably do something about it.
Yeah, I would think so.
I guess if it starts to deteriorate due to weather and it isn't really falling off the side, or, then there's a question of, is it compromised but it's not being replaced, right? And failure is kind of imminent, but it's not being addressed, right? I mean, but how many years out is that? Who knows? 10 years, 15 years?
Right.
Yeah, but again, my question, and I agree with all that, my question is, in the event it does become sufficiently damaged, it has to be removed, and you then have to wait for a replacement awning, would that mean that this drive-through be shut down in that
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think it's it's not like a traffic light, right? It's a convenience.
Yeah.
So if it's raining out and you don't have an awning, you're not gonna use the ATM, you
Yeah.
don't go in the bank.
Yeah, I suppose.
So I just think it's,
That's fine.
that's my opinion.
Yes.
So this is Coral again, if I might
Yep.
respond to that. This particular awning is readily in stock and is typically typically readily in stock, and that is really the difference between the original proposed awning, which requires fabrication, and this awning, which could be easily replaced.
And I think on the flip side, had you come to
Yeah.
us with this to begin with, I don't know that we would be discussing it, right?
Yep. And I kind of agree. I think it was Mike that made the point that, it potentially can get damaged, can get torn. It can get weather worn just by fading, et cetera. Yep. And those are images for the bank that I trust the bank would want to address immediately. So
Yep.
I think I'm comfortable here with whichever way we go.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Great. So then no reason to belabor that if we're all generally good with it. So then is there a motion to approve the minor modification to our previously approved special permit and site plan review for Chase Bank in PB 2303 with regard to the type of canopy structure that they are proposing to use at the ATM?
Moved.
Second.
So moved with the stipulation that they be allowed to have this be a permanent versus a temporary solution.
Great. Okay. Motion as amended by Bob. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Bob?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
And I say aye. Thank you very much for being available.
Thank you so much for doing this remotely. It's really appreciated. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, you as
Thanks,
well.
good luck.
Okay, that takes care of general business item A, which means the only thing left on our agenda this evening is a review of draft minutes of March 6, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have no comments.
Thank you.
I don't think it really matters, but I looked through, and I know this. Bob, were you here for that meeting, or were you away?
Who's here?
I was here.
You were there? Okay. No other comments.
That was when I was actually in person.
Yeah. Yep. So no comments. Okay, Bob, any comments?
I had one minor comment, but I can't find where it is. There was just a missing preposition on one of my statements. It wasn't a big deal.
Okay.
Oh, here it is. It's line 34, 35. Basically, would like to end at the end of line 34, where I made the comment about the comments being generic in nature and not be specific to the requested change.
Yes.
They add the word "to" after specific.
Thanks for that catch, Bob. Anything else?
That's it.
Great. And I am okay. I don't have any comments. All those in favor of approving the minutes of March 6, 2023 say aye. Bob?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Do we have a motion and second to approve them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
To start, before we
Sorry.
got into the conversation, I did a motion and a second to
Okay.
approve the minutes.
Who made
I
it?
moved. Bob made a friendly amendment. He seconded.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Which brings us to correspondence reports and updates. Which the only item we have, I believe we took in open forum from Mr. Morse regarding his desire to see the town move on a new master plan.
Yep.
Great. Is there a motion
So,
to? Sorry.
One comment I did have one comment on that, and I should have said it during open forum. I don't disagree to visit this. I think, yes, we do need to think about what we're doing with the MBTA plan, and when we have the time to do this heavy lift. The one thing I didn't see here was the information regarding the currency of all these different communities, although they seem to be, I'd be more concerned about looking at the ones immediately around us. It felt like these were cherry-picked. But the other comment I have is to look at when had the previous master plan been done for these communities. It's one thing to see when it was last updated. It's another matter to see how frequently communities are doing it. And that's my only comment.
I think those are fair points.
Yeah, that's an easy discussion with the NIMCOG staff. I mean, they help all these towns with it, so it's an easy question for them. They can pretty much tell us, I'm sure, how often all the surrounding towns are doing it.
Yep. Great. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye. Bob?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Darren?
Aye.
And I say aye. Have a good evening, everybody.